Good evening, ladies and gents of YouTube and all my subscribers. Welcome back to another exciting, head-scratching episode of Insane Disappearances. Tonight, I got another one for you. This one, of course, is about Douglas Legg. Now, Douglas Legg had he had disappeared in an area called the Adirondack Forest Preserves in San Antonio Preserve. Yeah. Okay, and this happened back in back in 1971. So yeah, that was a while ago. Most of the stories that be on these sites about people who disappeared in national forests and parks, most of them happened like ages ago, sometimes maybe 30, 40 years. But yeah, we're talking about a young man at the age of 4 when he disappeared. Yeah, he was pretty young when that happened, just like all the others. Now the thing about him is that it was him and some of his family members. They were heading out for a hike in the Adirondack Forest Preserves in San Antonio Preserve when his uncle spotted poison ivy and told Douglas to put on long pants to protect himself. Now the family's cabin was a short straight shot from where they were, but Douglas never returned. So somehow he obviously, got away from everybody. Now the thing about that is that I'm pretty sure they've probably done this a million times, so he knew the area very well. So they figured he was well enough to go off on his own, which doesn't make any sense. Now the age that I mentioned, I'm guessing that he was 4 years old at the time, because for him to just get away from his parents like that without them watching him seems kind of odd to me. I would think that he would have been like maybe a teenager or something like that. But most of these cases with people, young people that disappear in these national parks, they are pretty young. And there's a number beside his name. It says 4, so I'm guessing that means he was 4 years old at the time. So I'm just going by that for right now. I'd have to do some more digging into his age, but for right now, that's the age of him when he did disappear. So moving on. Now the family's, like I said before, the family's cabin was a short straight shot from where they were. But like I said, he never returned. Now, unlike a lot of the kids who have gone missing in national parks, Douglas was very familiar with these woods. So I was right. Even though he was 4 years old, he was still very familiar, because obviously they've been doing it for a very long time, and he's been trained by his family to, I guess, to know the area that he's in, especially if they're going out into, the forest to hike. So, because you want to start them young with a lot of these things. Just like when it comes to swimming, you want to start them very young at that. You want to start them young with martial arts so that they'll be able to get what they're learning over time. It gives them enough time to soak it all in. So I'm guessing that's what they did with Douglas Legg, when he was a very young boy. Okay, now his family owned a cabin where they were staying, and described Douglas as a mini woodsman. Yeah, I was right. Okay, now because they all hiked there together so often, Douglas's disappearance sparked one of the southern Adirondacks. It was like the largest search and rescue mission, with more than 600 people searching the woods. But like David Gonzalez Legg, I guess that's his father, left no trail. Oh wait, no, David Gonzalez. I'm sorry. He said, like David Gonzalez, Douglas left no trails. Excuse me. Now, unlike the Gonzalez case, through rescuers, the rescuers used dogs in their search. Some accounts describe dogs following Legg's scent over 30 miles and 48 kilometers. Let me see. They trailed through difficult terrain, and at that point, how could a young child have traveled alone for such a distance? Now, some searchers reported seeing bear-like tracks near the site. While black bears do drag their prey in cover, dragging someone 30 miles over 30 miles over difficult terrain seems unusual. Now, to me, I believe that, because when you have prey that you either want to eat or take back to your cave to feed your family, I don't think even a bear would actually drag someone that far, because even bears would get tired of doing something like that. That's why I said that it is very unlikely for animals to even devour a human body, because it just doesn't happen. There's no evidence that shows that animals do that. They gnaw at the body, they bite at it, but they don't continuously eat it until there's nothing left, including bone. And if you're lucky, you may find a small bone after all that. But there's no known creature on this planet that can devour a human body like that without leaving a trace of anything like tissue or blood, and all you find is a bone left inside of a sock, okay, or just scattered all over the place. So something out there is doing this, and for somebody like Douglas Legg to disappear the way he did, there was no trace of him whatsoever after he got away from his family. So he literally just disappeared. I mean, vanished without a trace. How, why, where, nobody knows. But hopefully, that wherever he is alive and well, but forced to live a life that he wasn't prepared for. Now, by him being so young, he was probably adopted by an unknown family who raised him as their own, and he grew up somewhere else in another dimension, or in another on another parallel Earth. So I mean, that's my best guess about it. I mean, just knowing that someone just vanished without a trace, what else is there for you to say? You can't say that it was a serial killer. You can't say it was a mountain lion or a bear. You can't say that it was a person that was lurking in the forest looking for prey in order to kidnap someone, because there would still be some evidence of footprints. Okay, there'd be some evidence of maybe some fabric from someone's clothes if they were walking through heavy brush. There would be something. But in this case, and like all the others, there was nothing, no trace, no evidence whatsoever. So it's almost like you walking along, you don't see what's happening, and all of a sudden you just walk right into this vortex, or like a vortex bubble where you get sent instantly into like an entirely new world. I've said a lot about a case that was similar to that, where a woman went through that with a person that was in her truck. And she just drove right into it, and bam, she's on another world somewhere. It looked exactly like where she just came from, but there was no people. Almost like it was like some kind of a movie set, that was staged there for people who come into that world. Why, I don't know. But as far as that's pretty much it on that case. It's definitely pretty unsettling when stuff like that happens, when people just disappear and there's no known reason for them to do what they did. It's just just something that you just don't want to think about half the time. It just boggles the mind, in all cases. So, but yeah, my next story is going to be about a young boy who also disappeared in a national park. His name was John Devine. This happened in 1997, so this is a much more, I won't say up to date story, but it is definitely one that isn't like too old. This is like in current times. So, but yeah, this one is about that young boy. He disappeared in the dense foliage and rugged terrain of Olympic National Park. And that place has swallowed up many hikers over the past couple of years, or the past centuries, maybe. Who knows? But let's see. Yeah, but yeah, John Devine, he just pretty much like all the others, he just vanished. But to start out, he was well, according to the Pensacola Daily News, Olympic National Park in northern Washington State was a feature, that's not as majestic as its mountain views. Now, at least 4 hikers have mysteriously disappeared from the area in the past 25 years. One of whom was 73 years old, John Devine. Okay. See, that number at the top near the name is a falsehood, because it says here that he was 73 years old. Okay, so it said, like I said, it said 3 there, so obviously he wasn't young. He was actually 73 years old. Okay. Now, in 1997, Devine planned a hike into the park from Mount Baldy. The trail is a tough 24 miles, and though Devine was elderly, he was also an experienced long distance hiker. Devine was camping with his friend Greg Balzer. They split up on the day that Devine went missing. Balzer Balzer went off to hunt while Devine took off on a day hike. Devine never returned. Excuse me. The fruitless search for Devine lasted a full week until a rescue helicopter crashed and killed 3 people and injured 5 others. By that time, weather conditions had deteriorated, making the chances of finding Devine slim. Friends and families said that Devine wouldn't want to put people in danger on his behalf, and the search was called off. The search helicopter's crash is as mysterious as Devine's disappearance. Before takeoff, the pilot used a hand signal indicating that he was going to wait 5 minutes for conditions to improve before attempting it. A moment later, the helicopter departed vertically without warning and crashed into the side of the mountain. That's crazy. Now, see, that's another thing about these cases, that whenever it comes to a search party and there being helicopters involved, there have been numerous cases of helicopters crashing in the pursuit of trying to find someone. There was the same thing happened when people was looking for little what's that boy's name? Jerry Atadero. The same thing happened in that case. A helicopter had crashed, while looking for him. Now, some of this information wasn't given to the public or to the media at the time. I didn't find this out until I actually listened and watched an interview that Alan Atadero, his father, gave on YouTube. And that was the first time I've ever seen him actually being interviewed. I'm pretty sure he's done interviews before, but that's the first time I ever seen him do an interview live on YouTube. And it was a very informative interview. It was a lot of things that he said that I didn't even know about, that I don't think David Paulides knew about. And if he did, there was just only certain things that he gave, I guess just to protect, the family or whatever, But it was, like I said, it was David Paulides. I mean, it was Alan Atadero's choice to do the interview, and I was so glad he did, because I've never seen the man before. I've only heard about him, and of course I've seen pictures of his son. I've heard about what happened to him, but I've never seen him as far as how he looked today. But yeah, that was a very informative interview. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from that. So yeah, the helicopter crashes that happen when people are actually looking for other people, that happens a lot. Not all the time, but it does happen. So yeah, that's a pretty crazy story right there. But yeah, in cases like this, when children just disappear, it's like I said before, you have to stay in a tight group and you gotta watch your kids, even if they are very well educated in hiking or camping or whatever the case may be. It's your child, and like say with me personally, I would always make sure that my child is close by. I would never let them out of my sight. Whether they knew a lot about the area or not, that's just me being a parent. So like, because if my daughter's mother told me that they was going to be taking a field trip to a national park, I say, well, that she not going. If I gotta pay for it, she ain't going. And I already done told you how it's like in those places. That's what I would be saying, but it hasn't happened, thank goodness. But if it does, that is what I would definitely say, and she would not be going. Now, if they did it behind my back and those teachers weren't watching the kids the way they should be, especially if they didn't know anything about what happens in these national parks, or just brushed it aside saying that, well, they just got lost, that happens all the time, I don't want to hear that crap. But anyway, yeah, that's my time on that video. I'm going to be posting a lot of like short videos throughout the night, so if I don't post another one after this one, I'll probably make some more, but I'll save them for a later date. That way there'll be something to talk about each time. But I like to do live videos so that everybody can stay up to date with what I'm talking about, instead of me just putting videos up there that I've already made. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll just continue to make a video on the days when I have to make them, and then post them for that day or for the next day. That way they'll stay as current as possible. So without further ado, you know how I do it. Aloha, mahalo, and a hui ho. Peace out, guys. Stay tuned.